Well, all right, everyone, let's get going. We want to thank you again for joining us. This is a webinar on adding student debt services to your law firm. This is a webinar where the audience is bankruptcy attorneys. We've had a great response. We really appreciate your interest. A couple of logistical comments. Everyone's in mute right now, but we are welcoming your questions. You can feel free to enter those questions in your chat facility in the webinar control panel. We will be getting to those at the end of this webinar, and any that we don't get to, we will summarize questions and answers and get that material out to everyone who's registered. We also will be sending out the slides as well as a recording to this webinar along with the questions and answers that I just referenced to all registrants. So we'll make sure that we get that out. We welcome your questions. Please enter them at any time as the thought occurs to you. We will not get to questions until the end, but I do assure you that we'll get all the questions answered. And let's get going. So some of you know me, maybe others do not. My name is Dave Danielson. I'm going to act as host today, and I do want to welcome you to a really exciting hour. We have lots to talk about. This is an exciting subject. We've been listening to stuff about student loans since the beginning of the pandemic, and we're now, it's now the payments are going to start, and there's lots to know and lots to do. And so we're anxious to share what we have and contribute as we can to the industry. I'm currently the CEO of Resolvent and eFiscal. Resolvent is the parent company of the product we are going to feature in a demo in the middle of this webinar. The product is called Student Debt Solutions. We'll talk more about that. I do want to thank Jubilee for being our host today. Jubilee is, since leaving CIN Group at the end of 2018, I've been working in the bankruptcy industry and have gotten to know and work with the guys at Jubilee quite a bit. I think we share a similar view that we're trying to find ways to get comprehensive, competent software with a robust integration, best of breed integrations at reasonable prices. The bankruptcy marketplace, I don't need to tell anybody in this audience, has suffered some downturns in the last few years. Good news is that's turning around, but it's always a good idea if we can reduce our costs. And I think Jubilee is committed to that, and I've been very pleased to work with them over the last few years. And I do appreciate their willingness to host this webinar. So why are we here? We mentioned, and I think all know, student loan payments are about to restart. I know from some of the stats that consumer bankruptcies are up. We know from statistics that are about 1/3 of all bankruptcy clients have student loan debt. Also, federal student loan debt is by far and away the largest part of the student loan debt. Yes, private is there, but the big part is federal. And so since my time at CIN and now for the last handful of years, I've been motivated, along with Melissa and our team at Resolvent, we've been motivated to try to find ways that we can help as many people as possible take advantage of federal programs to reduce or even eliminate their debt. And we've been working on how to make that easy, not only easy for our partners, meaning you, the law firms, or easy for the clients to do themselves. So we're very focused on how do we make comprehensive solutions that are cost effective and very easy to use. We also know, since payments have been in forbearance for some time, the student loan debtors we're going to find are in more debt today than before. So we could see these bankruptcy numbers jump up again with the restart of the payments. So we really feel that we've achieved a solution to this problem. The problem being, how do you satisfy a large number of consumers with an easy to use, low cost solution so they can find ways to get lower payments, forgiveness, cancellation, or maybe even the elimination of their federal student loan debt. There's a wealth of programs out there, but it can be pretty complicated. So we're focused on that. We think we've got a solution to the problem, but this is really not just about student debt solutions. We've got three things that we want to talk about. Melissa McGuire is going to talk about an update on student loans. So what's going on in the marketplace, some key dates. We're not going to dwell on it, but we think there's some things that you should know, and we will continue to keep you up to date as we go through the next handful of years. An overview of the student debt product. We want to show you the product. We want to show you what it is, simple demo. How does a consumer go through this? How do you use this as an attorney, either actively, as we will show, or passively? And then a case study. We're very happy to have Tara join us to talk about how she is not only using student debt services in her practice, but also why she thinks that the Student Debt Solutions product is a superior way for her to achieve her goals with minimal cost and more focus on the clients. And we will get to Q&A at the end. So I do want to touch on our two guest speakers. You'll hear a lot more than from me, and that's the way we should have it. Melissa, I'm not going to read all the bullets. The bullets for both of these ladies are significant. Melissa's been an expert counselor and really the guide for the Student Debt Solutions product for well over a decade. Basically, think about the product as how do we take everything that a counselor needs to know in terms of making decisions in a complex product or a complex situation and put that into a decision engine so that software can take over. It's maybe a trite analogy, but think about how we all used to go to CPAs many years ago, or maybe me in my generation. And nowadays, we're more likely to use TaxAct or TurboTax. Complicated subject, but software makes it easy and handles a lot of the complex decisions for us. Melissa's been the driver of that and also a frequent speaker, as you see in her credits. We're also extremely proud and happy to have Tara Salinas join us. Tara's a frequent speaker, NACWA participant, and we got to know Tara here over the last 5 or 6 months as an active and leading attorney for bankruptcy in Denver, in the Denver area. We've come to get a chance to work together a lot. Tara has a great experience with a number of products in the marketplace and has a student debt practice. And we thought it would be good for you as bankruptcy attorneys to hear from her about what she does, how she gets her clients, how she goes through her process, and why she thinks that using a product like SDS, which you'll hear us call it a lot, SDS, why using SDS is a good way to go. And we thought you should hear that from another attorney and get their thoughts so you're not just hearing it from a vendor. So I hope that summarizes the panel. It'll be mostly Melissa and Tara, but I'll interject a little bit on the product overview and I'll lead the Q&A. Again, we welcome any questions you have. Please enter them into the chat facility. And thank you again for taking the time with us today. So I'm going to hand this off to Melissa and let her go through some student loan updates. Melissa?
Thank you, Dave. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. So update on student loans. Just want just a brief overview of kind of a lot's been happening as we've changed administrations. So some important dates. The student loan pause is going to end at the end of August, and our interest rates will resume. So beginning in October, the payments, students are going to start getting their statements. Payments are going to be due. So expect that in between the month of October. Now, at the end of December, key date to look for is that there is a deadline for the FFBL borrowers to consolidate for the payment revision that's taking place under the, it's like for the IDR. So we'll talk about that here in another slide. And also collection efforts are going to resume in and around September of 2024. So that's through the Fresh Start. They're going to offer that a year after the payment pause ends. And so we should expect that late summer of next year. So just to get us reacclimated, before COVID, now post the forbearance, the Department of Education has posted some recent statistics now on what does the student loan borrower look like today. So 1.7 trillion in total US student loan debt. We have approximately 45 million Americans that are saddled with the student loan debt. The average payment's going to go up, so we're looking at around $390. Now couple that with inflation and a lot of other things going on, cost of living. So we are expecting to see those student loan payments rise as well. We have 10 million borrowers still in default, so we got to help them get out of the default. We'll talk about the Fresh Start program. And at current time, we have about 8 million borrowers that are enrolled in income-driven repayment programs. Now, again, we have 45 million borrowers, so this is covering only a small percentage. And 300,000 borrowers have been voluntarily making payments during the pause. So we have a lot of borrowers that are not actively paying their loans and are not going to know what to do, are going to need some guidance once this pause ends. So the first update, just a little bit about the Fresh Start program. This has been around since April of 2022. And like I just mentioned, borrowers can utilize this a year after the payment pause ends. So what this program is a one-time opportunity to essentially get out of default. It's going to be like rehabilitating loans, but it's not going to count against that program. So if you're familiar with loan rehabilitation, it's utilizing that. Since we haven't had to have payments, then borrowers are going to be be eligible for this, and it's not going to go against their one-time opportunity to go ahead and get out of default. So this is great. The time that they've been in default may count towards forgiveness, so we want to make sure that if there are programs out there, if they can do the IDR recount, if there's some payment revisions that can happen, we want to get them out of default and make sure they're taking the right steps towards whether they need to consolidate or not, those follow-up steps, okay, get them into these eligible programs. And again, this is going to last for 1 year after the payment pause, so we have plenty of time, hopefully. Now, with the revisions to past repayments, there was a program that was out there called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Limited Waiver that has ended. However, there's this ongoing revision that's supposed to automatically happen. They announced this, by they I mean the Department of Education did announce this program in April of 2022. So what they're going to do, what kind of sparked this is some forbearance steering and issues within the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. What they're going to do is look back at some qualified repayment time for the borrowers, and also maybe some people have forfeited some rights if they had consolidated in the past. So this is a big undertaking. So we are going to be looking back at past repayments, what's eligible, some of this accumulated, your accumulated forbearance time, and any eligible deferments as well. So there's a lot to this program. Just want to highlight it here. So, we want to look back, and this could essentially be very beneficial to many borrowers. They're going to put them maybe at the forgiveness time for their income-driven repayments, potentially impact their public service loan forgiveness. And there is a big thing, though, that if we have FFEL borrowers, we want them to consolidate by December 31st in order for this recount to apply to them. And as we all know, well, we all may hear about it, right? It's in the news, the student debt cancellation. So under the Biden administration, they're offering a debt relief, a one-time opportunity to cancel $10,000 to $20,000 of student loan debt. There's some income contingencies around this, and also what types of loans are if you would have received the Pell Grant. Now, this has been ruled as unconstitutional through Texas and Missouri. There's court cases going on, so the Supreme Court is hearing this. They're going to make a decision soon. Was thinking maybe it was going to be yesterday. This could be tomorrow or at the end of the week. So all eyes are on this to see how this is going to impact the student loan borrowers. With that, just wanted to mention the debt limit bill, because that's why we're essentially going to be going back into repayment. It had a big impact on, no more forbearances. So I think we can say with 100% certainty, we will not have another extension. And I think this is, applicable to all of the attorneys in the room today. So back in November, there's been given some new guidance on discharging student loans in bankruptcy. So the revision to the attestation form that you all be using in your adversary proceedings with student loans. So just wanted to highlight a few key points. Essentially, we got to look at the 3 prongs of the Bruner test here and see how it's really impacting, what are the differences. And so one main difference, we're going to use that payment that would be made on a 10-year standard repayment plan and not what would be made under IDR. So it's something to look for, where they're going to now include the IRS collection standards for the expenses. And that's just going to make it easier to declare expenses without rebuttal. I think you'll also have some room to explain why maybe that an IRS, a personal expense is higher than an IRS standard. They're also providing a list of concrete examples for the inability to pay. So that second prong. So this provides a means for determining the borrower's inability to pay in the future, whereas this could be commonly refuted. The guidance has also itemized specific actions of good faith repayment, right? So what has the borrower done to demonstrate good faith repayment? That third prong. And so having an itemized list is going to help essentially moral judgment. We're not going to impose our own values on a debtor's life choices. So these added standards for when borrowers have never made a payment, this makes it clear that failure to repay does not mean lack of good faith. So some examples: debtor does not have access to, unaware, discouraged, denied, or even given inaccurate information for an income-driven repayment plan. And also we have something where maybe there's plausible belief that an income-driven repayment plan is not going to be financially beneficial. And so I truly believe that IDR is not the answer for everyone, and we want to make sure we understand the long-term financial impact on that. And just something that hasn't been announced, well, it's been announced, but there's no implementation date as of yet. There is a potential for a new income repayment plan. This is going to replace the current revised pay-as-you-earn repayment plan. The payments would be capped at 5 to 10% of discretionary income. This plan is really unlike any other income-driven plan that's been put into action so far. So they're going to raise the income that's deemed non-discretionary. It's going to have a huge impact. And if the original loan balance of undergraduate loans are less than $12,000, our forgiveness under income-driven repayment plans will occur after 10 years, not the 20 or 25 we're used to. And then they're going to have this rule whereby every 1,000 borrowed, 1 more year is added. So this can really provide some very good streamlined pathways for new borrowers coming out of undergraduate school. This is going to have a huge impact on just income. I think in some examples we're looking at cutting payments in half essentially. So there's a lot of good examples of this being in use. It will eliminate some current plans that and could replace some current income-driven repayment plans. So we'll kind of see how all of this unfolds. We're still waiting on final regulations. And again, no exact implementation dates available. I was hoping it would potentially be this summer, but we're still waiting to see. And as we kind of say all of these updates, I do want to just make a strong point that Student Debt Solutions, the way that we integrate our rules, we can make changes very quickly. So when this new income plan comes out, we'll be able to adapt and modify essentially to cover that with very little turnover. And as well as all of the other updates that we've talked about, those are in place and the software, and we're able to take a borrower through understanding those options and navigating past regulations, current regulations, and any changes.
So I think at this point, what we'd like to do is give you a demo, but I'd like to make a point. Maybe it's obvious, but not being many of you, unlike myself, may have only caught on to a third of what Melissa was saying, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. That's the complexity of the rules. Here's the point of today's webinar. If you're already an expert and you knew everything that Melissa was talking about, then this is a good way, this program is a good way to do the data gathering and the analysis, so you don't spend your time doing that. You really just focus on working with your clients. If you don't know this, don't want to know this, but you still want to have your clients have some assistance or a way to help themselves, this is what Melissa's going to show you, is how could a consumer go through an application, understand the complex analysis, be given some very clear and simple choices based around their financial goals. I want the lowest payment possible, or I want to pay the lowest amount total because I'm trying to pay off this stuff. Or am I eligible for forgiveness? Am I eligible for cancellation? Somebody that doesn't know that, you want to know as an attorney that you can defer or refer them to an application that can do that analysis, make it easy for them to make their own choices based around their goals, and then end up with very clear action plans as to here's the forms you need, here's the steps you need to take, etc. So I know we're talking to two different kinds of bankruptcy attorneys, some of whom want to have a solution, but they don't really want to become an expert. Others who are an expert, but they'd really appreciate not having to do all of the analysis work if the software can do it for us, and all I have to do as an attorney is just verify and then meet with my client. So I hope that comes through in the demonstration. And as I was listening to Melissa, who's, we stay on top of this stuff with the committee hearings and NCLC and on and on and on. It's our job to stay on top of that stuff, but I want to make sure that we're being clear about why we're here. This can be a consumer self-service, or it can be an adjunct to an expert such as yourself who's running a practice and you really want to meet with your clients, decide your pricing and so on. And Tara will talk about that in a few moments. So real quick, I'm not going to read all the bullets. Why do we think Student Debt Solutions is a unique product? We think it's unique because it truly is consumer self-service. We have many people, it's been serving thousands over the last decade, but over the last couple of years since we've released the consumer self-service portal, we've had hundreds of people go through the program, go all the way from entering their data, uploading their NSLDS file, and going through the solutions and taking action. So we know that works. We think that can be compelling, and we're interested in trying to help as many people as you are to relieve debt. It's a comprehensive analysis. We go through default, cancellation, forgiveness, and then make recommendations for how to come up with repayments for any remaining balances. We have some optional solutions. Not everybody is comfortable doing it by themselves. One of the options is, I'd like to get some help preparing documents. Any of you who use bankruptcy software, you know the value of that. You don't want to go to a form and fill it out. You want to answer some questions and let the software fill it out for you. So we have that option. And then we also, for an expert counselor, there's an option to schedule an expert counselor. Some people, if I use TurboTax, I may still want to talk to an expert because I've got some unusual situation. We'll talk more about that in a moment. We're 100% partner or agency. We call them agencies. We do not go direct to consumer. We only work with nonprofit credit counseling companies and law firms, primarily bankruptcy law firms. We do also do some work with group legal services programs and some other group legal benefits programs. But we're really interested in trying to see if we can make a difference with you for bankruptcy clients and helping them relieve some of their student loan debt that can't necessarily or easily be discharged in bankruptcy. There's two parts of the product. By the way, I've seen a couple of questions. We will be sending out all of these slides and a recording to the webinar. So I'm not going to read all the bullets, but the information will be handed out to you. And there's ways to follow up with us afterwards for a private consultation if you're interested. But basically, the borrower portal is what Melissa will be demonstrating. This is what your clients would use to help themselves through the process. I'll let her show you that, and I'll let it be at that. There also is, we're not showing it today, but there's a pretty robust management application as well, where you could take a look at the clients that have gone through. How far in the program did they go? What were the answers to their questions, their questionnaire? What do their loan profiles look like? What's a copy of their NSLDS file? What's their action plan steps, etc. So we'll talk more about that, but the agency portal to be used as a management tool to look in on your clients and your client sessions can be a very robust adjunct to this suite of solutions. Real quick on the actual borrower portal. So this is what Melissa's going to demonstrate. The SDS product itself, we have a co-branded landing page. It's all co-branded with you, but we have a co-branded landing page that makes it easy to, sort of ready-made marketing. You get a unique URL. That's your unique pathway into this product. Any consumers, any of your clients that use your unique URL will be attributed to you for management reasons, for revenue sharing reasons, for any number of other things, but they basically are your clients. And the application itself is the, soup to nuts. We'll help you through. We give you the forms you need, the instructions you need. There is an option for document preparation if you choose to have it. It's a very low cost option. We recommend $15. However, there are many experts who charge a service for preparing documents for their clients. You can set the price. You could decide that I want to charge $100 to prepare the documents for you, and we can have the doc prep service only be used by you, the expert, and not by your clients. So this is a way to enhance your revenue if you want to do that kind of service. And the last, I think, is really unique. We've integrated Calendly as I want to schedule an expert counselor. This is an uplift for the clients, but here's why it's interesting. By default, if one of your clients was going through the program, they would connect through and schedule with an expert counselor on Melissa's team. But maybe you want to be the expert. We can have that schedule, same user interface to the consumer, but it schedules with your calendar as an expert. Or if you're familiar with other experts in the marketplace, I know Josh Cohen and the guys at the Student Loan Lawyer have been working for a long time to provide expertise in the marketplace. If you know somebody on the Student Loan Lawyer team, you want to have them be your counselor, we can configure this so that scheduling points to them. If you happen to know Tara and want Tara to be your expert, we can have it point to Tara. So there's a lot of flexibility here and power as to whether the consumer wants to do an expert and who the expert is, and you make the choices. As an attorney, you decide the pricing, you decide the configuration, and we set it up for you. And it's actually quite easy. We believe at the end of the day that we've created pretty much a no-risk application for you to really dive into this service. So let me change presenters here so Melissa can give you a demonstration, and I'll go back to trying to be quiet here. Melissa, let me hand it off to you.
Thank you, Dave. So what I'm going to share with you today, again, like you've said, is our borrower portal, and that's where we want the consumer to go directly in through a digital entry. They're going to do their intake, and I'm just going to jump in and show you. Okay, so I've already created a borrower today. They're going to log in. Once they're logged in, they're going to see a home screen. This is letting them acclimate themselves to what the expectations are. They have a progress tracker on the left-hand side, so they can get started. They're going to, complete these steps, okay? And at the end, they'll be finished. That's where they're taken to their dashboard. They've now got a plan of action, and they can access those additional support tools like document preparation or the expert counseling. So the first thing we want is their contact information. Low level, we want to know where they live and a phone number. Proceeding forward, we do want their financial information. Most important is their annual income. We do request that in the form of the adjusted gross income. And we also do provide them some tools and tips for them to calculate their own income and then provide that adjusted gross income. So today I'm just going to do a simple case. This individual is a director of a nonprofit. They're single, so the spouse income is 0, and their family size is 1. Down below, we do want to understand their repayment goals. You'll see at the end why, but we do offer a recommendation. So we want to understand, do they want a low monthly payment, maybe something in the middle, or do they want to pay the lowest total over time? So in this instance, I think a lot of our individuals are going to be coming in wanting a low monthly payment. The next part is providing their loan information. Today, I'm going to stick to just entering federal student loans. However, we do offer the analysis of private loans, that it will be by bank, and we've just explored what most banks offer in the form of default resolution, are there any cancellation options, and what are the monthly repayment and also hardship programs. The federal student loans, the file that we want and how we want them to enter them is by providing their national student loan data file. So what that is we refer to it as an NSLDS. It's a transcript of really the entire situation from when the loans were borrowed to where they stand today. Lots of great information. I could go on. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to enter into the chat. How we want them to enter it is they go to the FSA, they will log in, and when they come back, they'll select to download their file. I have a file here today for purposes of this demonstration. So I will access my NSLDS file and upload that. The borrower is going to get a readback and then proceed. This generates a questionnaire. We have a rules engine that works in the background, analyzing their income and all of their loan information, and produces a dynamic questionnaire. You'll see that we give a progress bar. And first and foremost, we want to understand who's sitting here taking the questionnaire. Are you inquiring about someone else's loans? I'll say no. Are you employed? I'll say yes. Are you disabled? No. And are you currently a student or enrolled to begin classes within 3 months? I'll say no. And again, the questionnaire is dynamic. So how I'm answering certain questions predict the next questions that will come out. So I'll say I'm employed full-time. What sector best describes your occupation? And we give them a list. We are looking at all of those forgiveness and occupational options, and I selected nonprofit. Which of the following degrees have you earned? So this individual has a high school, a bachelor's, and a master's. And have you ever filed for bankruptcy? If so, select which kinds. I have never filed. And do you believe you can dispute your student loans? And I'll say no. Is your job in healthcare or nonprofit sector with a not-for-profit or a registered 501c3? And I will answer yes. And you may be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Have you worked in or do you plan on working in this eligible occupation for at least 10 years? And they'll indicate yes. So once the questionnaire is done, we can see our progress towards the end, and this is going to present a review page for the borrower to look over. They're going to be able to look at their responses. Now, the whole time you may have noticed the previous button. They can always go back in the process and change entered information. But at this point, they can see a readout of the questionnaire, how they answered it, and they have the option to change. Once they're satisfied, they can move forward. And what we do want to provide is a benefit, right? So we give them an implication or an indication of what they're currently doing. Now, it's based off the best data that we can get from that NSLDS. And then we're presenting them what we found. And we also want to inform some of the other features. We're giving you solutions on your financial goals. We provide you an action plan. You've got some calculator tools and access to doc prep and counseling at the end. So if I'm satisfied, at this point is where we ask the borrower to make a payment. Now, our retail value is $99. Dave did mention our pricing is flexible and is controlled by the partner in the agency. I'm going to enter in my information to make this payment. And once the payment is placed, we'll be able to get a confirmation of that payment after it processes. And at this point is where we're going to present to the borrower their options. So they're going to step through. Now, we are extremely comprehensive. You may have noticed very briefly, this could be a whole webinar on exactly why we do what we do and how we do it, okay? But we are comprehensive. No stone is left unturned. We are looking at all of the borrower's default options, cancellation options, forgiveness options, any postponements, deferments they're eligible for. We include bankruptcy, anything that's under the statutory regulations. If you look up the NCLC, we try to carve out that pathway and really do a really good job of giving the borrower what that looks like for them, okay, so they can build that plan. So at this point, I see that there's this debt cancellation option that's up for grabs. A lot of people have already applied for this. We're going to go ahead and select that and move forward. And at the next point is where the borrower will be able to understand their monthly repayment options, right? So at what I selected was the lowest monthly payment. And so here at option 1, we see the recommendation was placed on a consolidated new income-based repayment plan. Now, there's probably several reasons why this was lifted up towards the top, and the consumer doesn't need to know all of that at this point. But we do want to give them a description of the plan, of the programs that are included with the option. You can see here that they're able to see the monthly repayment, the total repaid, any forgiveness associated, and a term. So we make a recommendation. However, the borrower could be eligible for several other different types of flavors of repayment, consolidation or not consolidation, a forgiveness plan or not including a forgiveness plan. And so this can build several scenarios. So what we want to do is show them our recommendation. Then at the bottom, they can scroll through. We're going to show them what they didn't consider, which was paying the lowest totaled over time or a balanced solution. In this instance, or in this case, they all are equal. We also do give them some depth and view into several other different types of repayment plans. If you really look back and you kind of cut how this all can work out for a borrower, it can be in the hundreds. And so we do want to, again, give them a recommendation, show them what they didn't consider, and kind of show them the next 10 best things in between. I'll go ahead and select this. And now we build a plan. Okay, so we're giving them a recap of what their plan is including, but how do they take action? They're going to go to their dashboard. They've got to begin implementing it. So it is a do-it-yourself approach for the consumer to receive that action plan, get the documents, and work that plan themselves. And I'll show you that now. And then we give them the option for those additional services for the automated doc prep or as seeking a counselor or an expert. And so when they get to their dashboard, they're going to see the first thing, action plan. We do a digital transcription of the action plan here on the dashboard so they can walk through the steps. You know, to get started, you're going to visit your documents, you can download your forms, or you can visit the document preparation tool. If you scroll down the end, we give them some expectations. You know, how long is this going to take? What if I'm denied? What if I missed a step? And then some important tips as well. So we do give a lot of that practice management right in the hands of the borrower. We're trying to help them along the way. So we do provide this in a PDF form. It's very nice. It's a packet. It provides that same checklist, some FAQs, some tips, next steps. And this is available. All of this is available as what we're seeing here is in that agency portal that Dave mentioned earlier. And so that's just a review. So that's really good. They have a document library where they can grab the forms associated with their solutions, and that's where they would do it themselves and fill those out. They can also go back and make changes at any time. Life happens, right? So, I mean, I even had an old client today say, you know, since the last time I talked to you last year, a lot's changed in my life. I'd love to go back through and set up another appointment with you. And that's what this tool is really built for, is to keep that influx. You know, if things change, it's like, you know, every year you file taxes, something else changes, something is different, or even statutory regulations have changed. So we also provide calculators. Here's the summary, right, of what we showed them on the dashboard, just to keep that center face for them. They understand their monthly payment and how much they're going to pay, what a forgiveness is. Now, if they click on the plan details, they're going to be able to see more about their plan. So they have a public service. We're highlighting that over here. They have loan because they did consolidate. The monthly payment's $342. Now they can view an amortization schedule. It's kind of odd on an income-based repayment plan, but we do an assumption of 5% annual growth. They can change that, and we give them an income line here. So if they think their income is going to grow more, they can apply that. Their forgiveness will change because they're going to be paying more over time. So these are some of the tools that we've built so far. We are newer and we're constantly developing and changing. And so lots of enhancement expected down the pipeline. And if you wanted to schedule a one-on-one call, we could definitely enlighten you to kind of what's on our roadmap and where we are today. Now, the other tools, we have document preparation. And just to give you a glimpse really quick, because I want to pass this back over so we can get in, and hear from Tara. So at this point, we would ask for a payment if that was the desired workflow for the agency. And again, as Dave mentioned, this tool can be available to the borrower, the counselor, or both. And they're just going to walk through in a survey type situation and complete the forms. Now, a lot of the forms are already done automatically. So like in a consolidation, we've filled out most of it already. We need some other information like their social, their employer information, maybe their driver's license, and some references would be left. They'd walk through that and that completes the forms. Once the forms are done, they're here and they're also stored back on their dashboard for the borrower to view. And again, we have expert counseling, just a Calendly integration. We also offer some alternative text options as well, which could all be talked about on a follow-up. So Dave, I'm going to pass this back to you and so that we can move on and hear from Tara.
Thank you, Melissa. I just want to touch on one thing that's kind of a, having been in bankruptcy for a while, it's kind of a duh moment, but a number of people have asked about, well, wait a minute, I've got a bankruptcy client, they're not supposed to be using credit cards. Why are you guys talking about credit cards? Well, that's what we're using for demonstration. There's other ways to work this. Melissa touched on different modes of operation. This could be used in a way that doc prep looks like it's free, or the whole program looks like it's free, and any sort of usage of the program could be arranged between your firm and us. For example, in Tara's situation, sorry for jumping the gun here, Tara, but we work directly with Tara, and she decides with her own service fees what to charge her clients. And so there's the usage of the program in Tara's situation, they don't see a paywall. So it's easy for us to configure that. We understand the unique nature of a client in bankruptcy not having a credit card, but there are many ways to work around that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here on standard mode and expert mode, because what Melissa just showed you was standard mode, which is essentially intake, questionnaire, analysis, decisions, now I take action. Expert mode basically takes the beginning of that and says, hey, it's still really good to have the client do their own intake, do their own questionnaire, upload their analysis, and answer some questions. But when it comes time to decide what's the best program for them, I, the attorney expert, would prefer to do that. I'll do some choices and then I'll meet with them. So the client's workflow then turns into intake, upload the NSA LDS, answer some questions, and then schedule an appointment with Tara. So it's very flexible. So again, we say that if you're the expert, you can use it as a way to offload your intake and analysis. If you want to just reference it because you don't really want to be an expert, then you can let it be in consumer self-service standard mode. We'll probably say that a bunch of other times. There may be follow-ups you want to take. We'll give information at the end of this, and we would love to talk to you individually if there's any questions that we've left you with. Tara, I think it's probably best for us to let you talk. How's that?
Hey, that sounds great.
Tara, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I think I don't have ability to, oh, there we go. I'm going to talk briefly about offering student loan services to your bankruptcy clients. I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. I also do student loan law. So I was looking for a product that would offer me the ability to use that client interface to gather the data and information I need in order to give clients good information and analysis without using staff time and without using my time. To give you a little bit of background about how you can find clients, as a bankruptcy attorney, you have a ready portal of clients ready to use your services. Talk to your past and present bankruptcy clients who have student loans, and potentially you're going to be talking to people who are looking for debt relief with regard to their student loan, and they don't need bankruptcy. So it's both clients who need bankruptcy and who just need student loan services that we're addressing. We offer in our firm a whole bunch of student loan services, including calculation of those income-driven repayments. You just saw how easy it is to use SDS to do that. We review those income-driven repayment programs for clients. We help them with their annual recertification. We do charge fees for clients to do that for them. Can you do it yourself? Of course. Can the client come and use SDS on their own? Of course. Many clients, though, want to have their hand held. They want to have an expert advise them. They want to make sure they're getting the right information. And so the wonderful thing about this software product is that it offers you the ability to provide that service to clients as an added benefit and to help your firm's bottom line. We'll be doing fresh start enrollment with clients as well, and looking at public service. Again, as a bankruptcy attorney, why should you be using a product like SDS? For me, it provides a more robust, full service environment for our clients. Any client who has student loans, they want help, and it's an easy way for them to, you're already in contact with them, it's an easy way for you to add some additional revenue to your cases and to provide expert services to your clients. For me, the biggest motivator in getting into student debt issues was to stop telling my bankruptcy clients that there's, quote, nothing I can do about student loans. There's a lot we can do about student loans. And another reason I love this product is because it doesn't just address federal loans, but it is also addressing private loans. And I think what's coming down the pipe is that we are going to have to address both. And while the federal, the Department of Education is addressing federal student loans in a very active way, we've seen more changes in the federal loan administration in the past 18 months than we have in the last 18 years. We're not seeing a lot of movement on private loans. And so having a tool that can address both will be really impactful for our clients. So how do you integrate SDS into your practice? I happen to be using the expert mode because, again, I want to offer the clients the opportunity to have a student loan analysis. I don't want a paywall because I want that to be something that's handled within our firm. And I wanted to simplify the process on our side so that we maximize both the profit and the benefit to the client. So it's pretty easy. You offer a student loan evaluation to clients as an add-on to their initial bankruptcy case filing or as a new service for clients who either don't need bankruptcy or who have already completed their case. I offer to evaluate student loans to clients once they're post-petition. That may be to be looking to see whether we have a dischargeability action that we could bring under those new DOJ guidelines, or whether we just need to come up with a solution now that the other debt has been taken care of about how we're going to address their student loan debt. I've also been reaching out to our existing and former clients that have student loans. The wonderful thing about bankruptcy is it's really easy to determine whether clients have student loans or not. You look at their petition. So I have a staff person who's going back through our old cases to look for clients to say, hey, what do you have with student loans and how can we be of assistance? They already trust you. They like you. They want to work with you and they want help. This is confusing. There's so many, even for student loan experts, there's so much confusion about what is the current policy. Things are changing very quickly. It's very difficult for consumers to keep up. So by offering them the opportunity to just do a basic review of their situation, you can really help them and build your business at the same time. So let's talk about practically what you do. I think SDS provides such a flexible solution. As Dave and Melissa have both talked about today, you can offer this as an option for clients to do on their own. Say you really don't want to learn more about student loans, you're not interested in providing this as a product, that's no problem. What you can do is provide the client access to the product so that they can make decisions on their own. It's much better than leaving them floundering at the end of a bankruptcy case. Great, you've received your discharge, now you're on your own, but you still have this huge debt that needs to be addressed. Practically speaking, I give the clients the link to my unique link to the SDS consumer side, along with instructions about how to pull their studentaid.gov detail report, that NSLDS report. There are instructions within the program. I find clients are happy if they have that already because it makes walking through that introduction and setting their case up very simple. I have the clients pull that NSLDS text file, create their account on the client side, and complete the intake online. Once they complete that, it automatically schedules an appointment with me through my Calendly integration. And I love that because I don't have to wait for them to call me. I don't have to reach out to them. It automatically lets them pick a time on my calendar that works for both of us, and we are scheduled. At that point, immediately prior to the appointment, I usually am looking the next day to see who do I have on my schedule, and then I'll review their case within SDS expert panel. I can see all of their loans, their income, their employment, information about what kind of payments they have made and what types of loans they have. That helps me as a student loan expert decide what I'm thinking for the client, and then I can walk through with them those choices. The SDS system is a great tool because it helps to reconfirm for me that the decisions I've already made are good. If you're not a student loan expert, it can help you make those decisions. It can help you to understand the process. The decision tree is phenomenal. The rules that go into making this software are really robust, and they can be very helpful even if you're not an expert. Then I do my review with the clients. I usually schedule these as half-hour appointments. I charge for the initial analysis, and then I also charge for the work that I do for whatever they choose. So I charge a flat fee for the analysis, then I charge a fee for, say, an income-driven repayment application, a consolidation application, whatever they need, those are charged additionally on a flat fee basis. I let the client know what options they have available and what the pricing will be for them. And then if they decide to hire me for additional work, I can use the SDS portal to prepare the documents that are needed by just letting the client know they need to log back into the system, fill out the brief questionnaire for additional information, and we'll get the applications processed. Again, it minimizes the amount of time I have to spend trying to draft documents, going back and forth with clients for information, and it allows the client to work on their own time to be able to get these things accomplished. So it's really 5 easy steps, and you can have the student loan practice that you've been hoping to have.
Tara, thank you. Thanks very much. I'm going to, in deference of time here, I'm going to skip by. We've touched on why we think this is special. What I'd like to touch on, which I think is more important, is what if you're interested? I have questions. I want to get started. I love this, or somewhere in between. This link, which will come in your materials, which we'll be sending out to everyone. That link sends you to a scheduling application to schedule with Melissa, myself, or someone else on our team. We can handle any questions. We can go through another demo or talk about specifics of the application. So we're here to try to help you understand and see what this product is about. So please take advantage of that. If someone does want to move forward, we just send out a simple form that asks for a handful of specific things. Like if you have a unique link, what do you want that unique link to say at the end? Do you want it to say Tara or Tara's great SDS practice, or you decide little things. Now I'm being silly, but you have some decisions to make. You have some pricing decisions to make. You have some decisions about how do you want to price your clients. There's a number of questions about the credit card, the pricing, and what the prices should be. Some people want to have, typically we do $99 and we do a revenue share 50-50 with the bankruptcy attorneys. Some bankruptcy attorneys don't want the rev share, they just want to help their clients. So they'd rather discount the price, skip their rev share. We've had people say, hey, I think this is really valuable. I want to charge $299 for this. Those are your decisions, and we want to go through those with you. It takes us about a day to get you set up. And again, the pathway in is a unique link, which we call a marketing channel. And in someone like Tara's case, she might actually have 2 marketing channels. One that's the standard mode and another one that's the expert mode. She'll give some clients this link and other clients that link based upon some evaluation of what she thinks their abilities or interest or willingness to pay. And we also support promo codes. So we start off by saying, look, there's 14 days free trial. We want you to get used to it, try it out, see if you like it. We're not trying to figure out how to make money from you quickly without showing value. We really want you to feel like this is a good product. It can help me build my practice and answer client needs. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I do want to touch on one other thing that Tara reminded me on a call last evening. We will be, today we do not, but we will be before this summer adding the necessary logic and the doc prep as needed to complete the attestation form for the bankruptcy and the new DOJ rules. So that hasn't come up in questions yet, but I'm sure it will, or it may be on your mind. So there will be the attestation form capability here that we'll release this summer. We're all in a cloud, so we release probably every week. We're doing updates and fixes and patches. And again, as Melissa pointed out, if for some reason the new advised repayee program goes into play tomorrow, or we get a Supreme Court decision tomorrow that says, you know, hey, we're going to nix the Biden program, our product will change the next day. It's radically simple. It's a configuration set of settings on the backside that Melissa controls. So I'm going to end at that point. Let's run over, if we can, a few minutes. There's a couple of really good questions that I'd like to touch on. Tara, here's one that came in. It basically says, does the client have to be a bankruptcy client, or can you work with somebody that's not a bankruptcy client? Do they have to be a bankruptcy debtor or not?
Absolutely no necessity to be a bankruptcy debtor. I have bankruptcy clients and I have student loan clients, and I have some that overlap. So student loan clients love this software, makes it super easy for them. You can put your unique link in a button on your website. They can go directly there, and it really can streamline and simplify. Again, when Melissa mentioned earlier, we have 40 million borrowers. There are only 8 million of them in an income-driven repayment plan right now. Those people have not been paying, for the most part, for the last 3.5 years. People are gonna need help. There are not enough student loan lawyers right now in the country to handle 40 million borrowers, and there aren't enough to even handle those that are reaching out to lawyers. So you can certainly use this software with just student loan clients, people who only need student loan help. And I'm doing that regularly in my practice.
Thank you, Tara. A question for you, Melissa. Someone asked if SDS works with and understands Parent Plus loans. Maybe you can go through some of the different loan types that we're aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely does. That was actually an underlying mission when we were doing this, because a dear friend of mine and coworker has the Parent Plus loans, and we learned early on the intricacies of how to navigate those in a proper way. I've dealt with too many clients that have been given wrong advice and then come to me, and I couldn't get them out of a situation they'd already got themselves in with those. So we definitely handle the Parent Plus loans. Perkins loans, the way we actually kind of explore this is direct, FFEL, Perkins, Parent Plus. We want to make sure that as we're navigating and peeling back the layers through that decision tree, that one, doing one thing on one loan is not going to mess up the entire portfolio. So we're very careful with handling that. So short answer, yes, absolutely, we do.
Thanks. And a question for you, Tara. There was a question about what if somebody's in the middle of a Chapter 13, or what if they've already gotten a discharge from a Chapter 7? How does that influence what you're able to do with those clients?
Generally, it depends on your district and how you handle Chapter 13 cases. Oftentimes, if you have not put specific language in your Chapter 13 plan, the Department of Education is going to put clients into a bankruptcy status if they are in an active Chapter 13 or an active Chapter 7. And so you aren't eligible when you're in active bankruptcy status for income-driven repayment programs, for public service loan forgiveness, et cetera. And you can get around that. It's probably way outside the scope of what we can talk about today, but there is Chapter 13 plan language you can include that would allow Department of Education to continue to service the loan actively while the client is in Chapter 13, but it needs to be done at the time of confirmation. What clients are allowed to do in the meantime with Chapter 13 then will vary district by district, but the first key is to get them out of that bankruptcy forbearance so that they can be actively servicing the loan during the Chapter 13. So again, outside the scope of this program, but that's a quick and dirty.
And real quick adjunct to that, if somebody is in the middle of a Chapter 13, in between filing and discharge, they haven't gotten their discharge yet, what kind of limitations does that put on what you can do with your with a modification or or a change to their programs?
Again, if they're in a bankruptcy forbearance, there's not a lot we can do. So you really want them to be out of bankruptcy. That said, as long as the case was active as of, open, if your bankruptcy case was open as of late November of 2022, the client could be eligible for a bankruptcy discharge under the new DOJ guidelines. If their case was closed as of end of November 2022, they would need a new case filed in order to be eligible for that DOJ hardship discharge. So there's lots of different rules and regulations there, but certainly there are programs out there that will cover that, so you can be looking for those.
Okay, thanks. We see a lot of people doing this either as a planning tool prior to filing or as a let's deal with the rest of that debt after discharge. We see that frequently. Melissa, here's a question that came up, kind of an interesting one. Why do we require somebody to create an account? What's the purpose of that?
Oh, yeah, so it is consumer self-service. They have access to the application for where we're going is annually. And then as your agency would like to maybe focus in on those recertifications, they can continue to renew that account through those processes. But it is very important for us to clarify that they're a real person. We don't know how this may be utilized. We are in different markets, right? So if someone just has this up on a website and isn't hand holding the promotion of it, we have to have a way for them to log in, get started on their own.
Yes, and I wanted to also have you touch on the fact that people's needs change. They may create an account, and this really is access for a year. It's not transactional like access one time. If their needs change, they lose their job or something else of significance, they may want to go back in, change their answers, and find out what's new. If suddenly the REPAYE program is available in February of next year, they may want to go in and see, can they take advantage of that? So it's a year-long access that we believe will turn into an annual subscription kind of product, but that's still in the future. Melissa, this is a longer topic, but somebody was asking about your discussion of the additional 1,000 borrowed for each additional year for that new REPAYE program. I'm not gonna. Can you summarize in just a minute?
Yeah, so the balance is $12,000, and if that borrower had $13,000, then an additional year is added to the forgiveness period, so it'd be 11 years. Then at $14,000, we're looking at 12 years till forgiveness. At $15,000, 13 years. So for every $1,000 more, in addition to the $12,000 that are added when the person leaves school, only on undergraduate loans will it increment up by 1 year forgiveness.
Okay.
Until you hit the max at 20 or 25.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, Tara. So
no worries.
I think in fairness to all, I'm going to probably wrap here. We've got a good 50, 60 questions. I want to revisit again the fact that a couple things. One, we're going to share everybody's contact information. Tara, we've had people ask if you can tell them about your fee structure and stuff. I didn't want to bring that in the open forum, but we'll be sharing Melissa's email, my email, Tara's emails. You're welcome to reach out to us to ask any private questions. Again, I would call your attention to the fact that you will see the slides. You will get a recording of the entire webinar. And the questions here, we're going to put them in a spreadsheet, list them all out, get answers to all the questions, and then send all of the questions and answers out to everybody that's attended. We will get this material out to you. Thank you all for your time and attention. Hope we've stimulated the conversation and more to come. We will work hard to keep people informed, and hopefully we'll do some more webinars down the road. I thank you again. Thanks for your attendance, and ladies, thank you for your time and presentation today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.